Humanity currently possesses, the most dazzling advanced medical technology in the history of our species.
Oh, absolutely. It's wild to think about.
Right. Like, we can map the entire human genome in, what, a matter of hours now?
Yeah, just a few hours.
And we have CRISPR technology to literally edit DNA sequences.
Mm-hmm.
We are using artificial intelligence to detect these microscopic cellular anomalies on scans before they even have a chance to form into tumors.
Right. The predictive power is just staggering.
Exactly. We can literally 3D print artificial organs now.
Which sounds like science fiction, but it's real.
It is. And yet, simultaneously, we are living in what can really only be described as a historically unprecedented disease era.
Yeah.
An era that's just characterized by skyrocketing population-wide levels of chronic systemic illness.
It really is the ultimate historical paradox. We have conquered so many of the acute infectious diseases that used to just devastate our ancestors.
Right, the plagues and things like that.
Exactly. The plagues, the immediate traumas, the things that would take you out quickly, we beat those. Yet we are currently buckling under the weight of these slow-moving, degenerative conditions.
Yeah.
It's like the very infrastructure of our health is eroding exactly as our technological capability to monitor it peaks.
And exploring the architecture of that exact paradox is our mission today. So welcome to a completely unique deep dive.
This one is going to be really interesting.
It really is, because today's source material for you listening, it isn't a standard peer-reviewed research paper.
Right. No clinical trials today.
No, and it's not a conventional textbook either. It is actually a highly creative, conceptual script for a hypothetical YouTube video.
Which is such a unique framing device.
It is. This script stages a virtual time-bending dialogue between two radically different figures. On one side, we have Hippocrates.
The ancient Greek physician.
Exactly, the guy universally recognized as the father of medicine. And sitting right across from him in this imagined scenario is the modern-day critic, Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
RFK Jr., yeah.
Right, and he is acting as the voice dissecting our contemporary health systems.
The format is inherently dramatic, obviously, but the script uses this cross-temporal conversation to systematically deconstruct the current paradigms of health, agriculture, and medicine.
Yeah.
It basically leverages that ancient foundational perspective to highlight the massive anomalies of our modern baseline.
Now, before we go any further, I need to set a crucial boundary for you, the listener.
Very important.
Yes, this source material contains highly charged, incredibly direct critiques regarding what it categorizes as big food, big pharma, and decades of established government dietary guidelines.
And those critiques are largely voiced through the character of RFK Jr. within the text.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the purpose of our deep dive today is absolutely not to endorse or validate or take any political sides on these corporate critiques.
Right. We aren't here to litigate the real-world accuracy of these specific claims.
No, and we aren't here to declare a winner. We are here strictly as impartial guides. Our mission is to explore, analyze, and just convey the ideas and the biological arguments exactly as they are constructed within this specific original source text.
We are just analyzing the internal logic of the script's argument. We want to look at how this hypothetical dialogue builds its case regarding the root causes of modern illness.
Right.
And the proposed biochemical mechanisms at play and, the economic structures it claims are perpetuating the whole crisis.
Okay, let's unpack this, because the script wastes zero time getting to the heavy-hitting structural critiques.
It jumps right in.
It really does. It immediately establishes this massive tension between ancient medical philosophy and modern epidemiological failure, and it grounds the entire narrative in that famous 2,400-year-old directive from Hippocrates.
Ah, yes. Let food be thy medicine and medicine be thy food.
Right.
And in the context of the script, that phrase isn't utilized as some quaint decorative quote you'd find on the tea bag.
No, not at all.
It is framed as an immutable biological law. And the text juxtaposes that ancient ideal against a really staggering modern statistic presented by the RFK Jr. character.
The one about chronic disease.
Yes. The script states that currently over half of U.S. adults and children suffer from chronic diseases.
How?
We are talking about pervasive metabolic syndrome, obesity, type 2 diabetes, and just a whole spectrum of autoimmune conditions.
Let's just linger on the sheer scale of that claim for a second. Over 50% of a population.
It's massive.
If you think about the implications for you or for society, where the baseline state of existence is statistically chronically ill, I mean, it completely alters how you view the medical
Oh,
establishment.
absolutely. And the Hippocrates character in the script reacts to this data with absolute bewilderment.
Like, he just can't fathom it.
Right. He immediately invokes his own foundational ethical rule, the Hippocratic Oath, specifically the principle of primum non nocere.
Which means, first, do no harm.
Exactly. And the inclusion of primum non nocere serves as the philosophical pivot point for the script's entire critique.
Yeah.
The text poses this profound structural question. How has a vast medical, agricultural, and societal system, a system theoretically built upon the foundational premise of protecting the patient and doing no harm, resulted in an environment that appears to mass-produce illness?
It's a heavy question.
It is. If the prime directive is the preservation of health, the script demands to know how the systemic architecture evolved to generate such unprecedented volumes of chronic pathology.
You know, reading that section, I couldn't help but picture a very specific scenario.
What kind of scenario?
Well, it's like having a municipal fire department that possesses state-of-the-art technology. Like, they have the most advanced trucks, highest pressure hoses, the most rigorously trained firefighters.
Okay, I see where you're going with this.
And they are phenomenal at rushing to a blazing house and extinguishing the flames. But concurrently, the city planners who govern the town are actively mandating that all new homes be constructed out of dry matches
Oh, wow.
and soak in gasoline.
Right.
So the medical system is fighting the fires perfectly, but the script is asking, how did the broader societal system become the arsonist?
What's fascinating here is how seamlessly your analogy overlays with the script's central thesis regarding the origin of these chronic conditions.
Really?
Yeah. The text explicitly asserts that the root cause, so the gasoline in your analogy, is not some mysterious airborne pathogen
Right.
or, a random collective genetic mutation that just suddenly occurred over the last 50 years. The script argues that the dining table itself has been fundamentally industrially altered.
The dining table.
Yes, the very building blocks we use to construct our cellular architecture have been compromised.
And that concept of the compromised dining table, that leads directly into the script's severe deconstruction of modern agriculture and manufacturing.
Which it collectively labels big food.
Big food, exactly.
Yeah.
And the narrative doesn't just point vaguely at grocery stores. It identifies a very specific historical and structural catalyst.
Yes, it does.
It points directly at the traditional government-backed food pyramid.
And the script frames the introduction of that specific food pyramid as a catastrophic inflection point in human metabolic health.
A total turning point.
Exactly. It presents the pyramid not as a triumph of nutritional science, but as a compromised joint venture between government policymakers and industrial agricultural lobbying.
And the text outlines two specific devastating maneuvers executed by this pyramid.
Right, the fat and the carbs.
Exactly. First, it completely demonized healthy, naturally occurring fats, the kind humans had consumed for literally millennia.
Right, your butter, your animal fats.
Yeah. And then second, to replace the caloric void left by removing those fats, it took refined carbohydrates like heavily processed grains, bread, pasta, and cereal, and cemented them as the foundational base of the human diet.
The huge bottom block of the pyramid.
Yes, it literally structured the graphic to tell the public, this high carbohydrate load is what your biology requires the most.
And from a biochemical perspective, the script argues that establishing that carbohydrate-heavy foundation triggered a cascade of metabolic dysfunction.
Oh, go.
Well, when industrial food manufacturers strip naturally occurring fats from products to meet these new low-fat guidelines, they face a massive problem.
The food tastes like cardboard.
Exactly. The food loses its palatability and texture. So to compensate, the text details how the industry initiated a massive infusion of highly refined, cheap chemical additives,
And sugar, right.
specifically liquid fructose, high fructose corn syrup.
The script uses highly evocative, almost cinematic imagery here. It contrasts the enduring, solid marble columns of the ancient Greek Parthenon with modern factory pipelines endlessly gushing high fructose corn syrup into neon-colored, ultra-processed packages.
It's a very stark visual contrast.
Very. And this is where the RFK Jr. character uses terminology that really stands out. He doesn't call these hyper-processed items junk food or empty calories.
No, he goes much further.
He explicitly categorizes them as chemical weapons.
And that phrase requires deep biochemical unpacking to understand the script's argument.
Because it's a huge claim.
It is. The text asserts that liquid fructose and synthetic additives do not function within the body like traditional nutrients. Instead, they actively bypass the body's deeply evolved satiety signaling.
The hormones that tell us we're full.
Exactly. Specifically hormones like leptin, which tells the brain we have had enough food, and ghrelin, which regulates hunger.
Okay.
By circumventing these signals, the script argues these substances directly and unnaturally stimulate the brain's dopaminergic reward circuits.
I have to pause and push back on the terminology, though. Chemical weapon is an intensely aggressive, loaded phrase.
It certainly is.
Even if we accept the premise that hyper-processed food is terrible for us, is the script just utilizing pure hyperbole for dramatic effect here?
You mean, is it just for shock value?
Yeah, I mean, a weapon implies malice, an intent to destroy.
Yeah.
Are they just using extreme language to highlight how our natural evolutionary drive to seek out dense calories has simply been co-opted by profit-driven manufacturing?
I wouldn't dismiss it as mere rhetorical hyperbole within the context of the script's internal logic,
Okay, why not?
because the text is aggressively emphasizing intentionality. It argues that the modern food environment is not an accidental byproduct of convenience.
It's deliberate.
Right. It is a meticulously engineered ecosystem. Food scientists actively design these products to achieve a bliss point.
Oh, I've heard of that.
Yeah, it's the exact optimization of sugar, salt, and fat to maximize consumption and entirely override the biological brakes of satiety.
So you just can't stop eating it.
Exactly. The script uses the term weapon because it views this process as a targeted assault on human metabolic pathways.
Wow.
The goal isn't necessarily to kill the consumer, but the script suggests the inevitable collateral damage of engineering addiction is systemic biological failure.
And the Hippocrates character supports that view by looking at our evolutionary hardware. He argues that human biology, which evolved over hundreds of thousands of years, simply lacks the enzymes. And it lacks the metabolic pathways to efficiently detoxify and process these novel artificial substances at the massive volumes they are currently consumed.
And that leads to the script's redefinition of chronic illness itself.
This part is fascinating.
It is. When the liver is overwhelmed by liquid fructose, it initiates de novo lipogenesis.
De novo lipogenesis, what is that exactly?
It basically means creating new fat directly in the liver. And that process leads to severe insulin resistance and systemic inflammation.
Ah, okay.
The script argues that we shouldn't view these resulting conditions as random diseases that ambiguously strike us out of nowhere.
Like bad luck.
Right. It's not bad luck. Rather, it frames this widespread inflammation and metabolic breakdown as the body's desperate cry for help.
A cry for help.
Yes. It is the biological architecture desperately signaling that it is buckling under the absolute toxicity of its environment.
You know, if we accept the script's premise that the body is screaming for help through these inflammatory markers, it naturally forces the narrative to its next major structural critique.
The medical response.
Exactly. If the house is on fire because it's built of matches and gasoline, why are the highly trained firefighters, the medical establishment, ignoring the building materials?
Why just spray water?
Right. Why aren't doctors treating the root cause of the inflammation? This transitions the argument directly into the text's exploration of what it terms the big pharma cartel.
And the script constructs a deeply cynical yet economically cohesive model of the modern healthcare apparatus.
It really pulls no punches here.
It doesn't. It presents a very provocative business critique. Within the pharmaceutical framework, a genuine cure represents a fundamental failure of the business model.
Because a cured patient is a lost customer.
Exactly.
It portrays the system as the ultimate subscription model, but applied to human biology. And the text uses extremely specific clinical examples to illustrate this economic capture.
Let's look at how it handles type 2 diabetes.
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah.
Because the script points out that type 2 diabetes is fundamentally a condition of carbohydrate intolerance and profound insulin resistance.
Yeah.
Yet, instead of prescribing severe dietary carbohydrate restriction to stop the massive influx of glucose, which is essentially turning off the tap,
Right.
the standard of care involves prescribing a lifetime supply of exogenous insulin and other glucose-lowering medications.
And from the script's perspective, prescribing insulin for type 2 diabetes is essentially forcing the body to cram more glucose into already overstuffed insulin-resistant cells.
It's just packing it in.
Exactly. It manages the acute symptom, which is high blood sugar, while actively exacerbating the underlying root cause, which is hyperinsulinemia.
And the text applies the exact same analytical lens to cardiovascular health.
With statins.
Right. It argues that systemic arterial inflammation is heavily driven by oxidative stress and metabolic dysfunction, which are linked to diet.
Yep.
But rather than aggressively addressing the dietary environment that is causing all that endothelial damage, the standard medical response is to prescribe lifelong statin drugs.
And statins are a perfect illustration of the script's broader point.
How do they work, according to the text?
Well, statins inhibit an enzyme in the liver called HMG-CoA reductase, which artificially lowers the production of cholesterol.
Okay.
The script argues that this is merely altering a biomarker on a blood test just to meet an arbitrary guideline, rather than actually resolving the cellular inflammation that causes those arterial plaques to become dangerous in the first place.
The Hippocrates character employs a strikingly bleak metaphor to synthesize this entire dynamic.
The one about the tree.
Yeah. He says modern medicine is engaged in a perpetual, exhausting process of wiping the sick leaves while leaving the rotting roots entirely untouched.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the script is outlining a colossal, closed-loop macroeconomic ecosystem.
Okay, lay that out for us.
So big food engineers and mass produces the dietary environment that initiates the metabolic dysfunction.
So they rot the roots.
They rot the roots. Then big pharma swoops in with highly profitable, patented interventions to indefinitely manage the visible manifestations of that rot.
They wipe the leaves.
Exactly. They wipe the leaves. The text asserts that there is a monumental structural economic disincentive to ever actually heal the root cause.
Because it would break the cycle.
Because true metabolic healing would instantly collapse a multi-trillion-dollar financial cycle.
I think it is vital to pause here, though, and look at the systemic tragedy the script is actually portraying.
What do you mean?
Because the narrative is not claiming that your local pediatrician or, the emergency room doctor who saves a trauma victim is a malicious actor twirling a mustache and counting pharmaceutical kickbacks.
Oh, no, absolutely not. The critique is much deeper and more structural than individual doctors.
Right. The text suggests these individual practitioners are trapped. They are operating within a heavily cartelized system of medical billing codes, 15-minute consultation windows, and rigid standard of care guidelines.
Guidelines that they are legally and professionally bound to follow.
Yes, and those guidelines structurally monetize perpetual symptom management while practically forbidding deep foundational healing.
And that structural capture you're describing, that sets up the next major conflict in the narrative.
The educational capture.
Exactly. The system dictates the standard of care. Medical schools, continuing education seminars, and massive clinical trials require astonishing amounts of capital.
Millions and millions of
Billions even. And the script argues that capital is largely supplied by the pharmaceutical industry.
Right.
Therefore, the very lens through which doctors are taught to view the human body is inherently pharmacological. A symptom is observed, and a corresponding pharmaceutical intervention is matched to it.
But the script doesn't just wallow in the despair of that closed-loop system. It introduces a schism.
The rebellion.
Exactly. It details a modern rebellion pushing back against this pharmacological dominance,
Right.
introducing the concept of functional medicine.
And in the context of the script, functional medicine is presented as the vital counter-movement. It characterizes the practitioners of this discipline as awakened doctors.
Awakened doctors.
Yeah. These are physicians who fundamentally reject the premise of isolated symptom management.
So they don't just look at a chart and prescribe a pill.
Right. The text explains that instead of just looking at a cholesterol number or a blood sugar reading in a total vacuum, these doctors utilize a systems biology approach.
What does that entail?
They meticulously track a patient's gut microbiome diversity. They measure chronic cortisol and stress levels. They test for environmental toxin accumulation. And they heavily analyze severe dietary imbalances.
It is, in essence, the modern high-tech manifestation of Hippocrates' 2,000-year-old philosophy.
Yes, exactly.
The source emphasizes that functional medicine treats the whole person. It seeks to repair the fundamental metabolic engine of the body.
Looking at the whole tree.
Yes. It insists on examining the entire tree, the soil, the root system, the trunk, and the environment, rather than just obsessively polishing the decaying leaves.
Yet the script is completely unromantic about the harsh realities of this approach. It explicitly describes functional medicine as a lonely fight.
A lonely fight.
And if we extrapolate on the economic realities the text has already established, it becomes really obvious why.
The money isn't there.
The script notes that these practitioners do not generate massive profits. They are entirely severed from the lucrative ecosystem of pharmaceutical lobbying, kickbacks, and hospital system incentives.
Just think about the pure logistical friction of what the script is describing. Practicing medicine outside the established pharmaceutical insurance matrix means a doctor cannot rely on standard billing codes.
Right. There's no code for a 2-hour lifestyle intervention.
Exactly. They can't do rapid-fire 15-minute symptom checks.
Yeah.
To actually investigate a patient's microbiome, sleep architecture, and historical dietary trauma requires hours of unbillable consultation time.
It's a completely different model.
They are attempting to practice deep investigative medicine in a system designed for high-volume pharmacological triage.
Furthermore, they're constantly fighting an uphill battle against an immensely well-funded scientific status quo.
The mainstream.
Yes. The dominant medical narrative, the heavily publicized studies, the guidelines issued by major medical associations. The script argues these are all fundamentally shaped by the financial gravity of the pharmaceutical ecosystem.
An ecosystem that views functional medicine as an existential threat to its business model.
Precisely.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though, and I want to pose a critical question directly to you, the listener.
Okay.
If we follow the script's logic, if functional medicine is truly as miraculously effective and biologically intuitive as this narrative claims it is, and if it genuinely cures the root causes of our most devastating, life-destroying chronic illnesses,
Right.
why hasn't overwhelming grassroots consumer demand forced it to become the mainstream standard of care decades ago?
That is the pivotal behavioral question that challenges the entire premise of the text.
Right? Is the totalitarian grip of these corporate cartels truly that absolute, successfully suppressing the truth and controlling the global health narrative?
Or is it something else?
Exactly. Or, and this is a much more uncomfortable mirror to hold up to ourselves, are we, the consumers, deeply complicit? Has the modern culture of immediate gratification and ultimate convenience so thoroughly rewired our psychology that we genuinely prefer the frictionless nature of a quick fix pill?
It's a tough pill to swallow, no pun intended.
I mean, think about it. If treating the root cause requires massive behavioral friction, giving up the hyper-palatable foods we're addicted to, completely overhauling how we grocery shop, learning to cook again, managing our daily stress.
That's a lot of work.
It is. Do most people simply choose the statin and the daily injection because it requires absolutely zero behavioral change?
The reality is undoubtedly a complex synthesis of both forces.
Both the system and our psychology.
Exactly. The script, given its rhetorical goals, leans heavily into the systemic suppression orchestrated by the corporate cartels. But human behavioral psychology cannot be ignored. The big food architecture works precisely because it exploits our deepest evolutionary desires for dense, effortless calories. Reversing that through functional medicine requires intense, sustained cognitive and behavioral effort.
You have to try really hard.
You do. Meanwhile, swallowing a pharmaceutical compound engineered to suppress a symptom demands virtually no effort at all. It is the ultimate path of least resistance.
It's the path of least resistance, leading directly off a cliff.
Sadly, yes.
But the narrative of the script refuses to end in that bleak stalemate between corporate dominance and human apathy.
Thank goodness for that.
Right. It actually builds toward a massive hypothetical climax that directly answers my question about whether a mainstream paradigm shift is even possible.
The big reveal.
Yes. The script visualizes a revolutionary moment of reckoning, the absolute dismantling of the old system, and the triumphant introduction of a brand new, biologically accurate food pyramid.
And this serves as the ultimate narrative and biological resolution of the text.
It ties it all together.
It does. The script imagines a scenario where the government institutions finally capitulate, publicly admitting the catastrophic failures of the past several decades.
They just come clean.
Yeah. They completely discard the lobby-tainted, carbohydrate-heavy pyramid that, according to the text, initiated the entire chronic disease era in the first place.
The deep dive into this specific portion of the script is incredibly vivid because it describes a brand new 3D nutritional infographic.
And the structural inversion is total.
It is entirely flipped. The foundational base, the wide bottom of this new pyramid indicating what human biology requires the most, is no longer dominated by refined grains, breads, and cereals.
Out with the carbs.
Yes. It is built entirely upon a foundation of healthy, natural fats and high-quality proteins.
So what are we talking about here?
We are talking about fresh meats, rich avocados, heavy olive oil, and eggs. The source explicitly roots this new global paradigm in the biochemical principles of LCHF.
Low carb, high fat.
Exactly. Low carb, high fat.
And the text doesn't just list these foods. It breaks down the profound biochemical implications of this dietary inversion.
The mechanisms.
Right. It argues that by radically restricting the intake of refined sugars and processed grains, we immediately halt what it terms the abuse of insulin.
And this is the critical mechanism linking back to our entire discussion on chronic inflammation and type 2 diabetes.
Yes, let's connect those dots.
Let's clearly define that mechanism. By removing the constant, massive influx of dietary glucose,
Yeah.
you prevent the continuous spiking of blood sugar.
Right.
Therefore, the pancreas is no longer forced to pump out these massive toxic tidal waves of insulin to desperately clear that glucose from the bloodstream.
The body finally gets a break.
Exactly. You give the entire endocrine system a chance to rest and resensitize, and what replaces that glucose is the primary metabolic fuel.
The script points to clean fat.
Clean fat.
This raises an important question, though. What does this transition from glucose dependency to fat adaptation actually look like at a cellular level?
Yeah, how does the body actually use the fat?
Well, the text argues that dietary fat is essential for structural cellular integrity. The phospholipid bilayer of every cell membrane in your body is made of fat.
Every single cell.
Yes. And the myelin sheaths that insulate your neurological system and protect your brain. They're composed heavily of cholesterol and fat.
Wow.
By providing the body with these high-quality fats alongside essential proteins required for enzymatic function and tissue repair, the script claims we are finally providing human biology with its intended structural materials.
And the text uses a very specific phrase to describe the ultimate goal of this new nutritional paradigm,
What's that?
the restoration of metabolic flexibility.
Metabolic flexibility. That is the crux of the biological argument right there.
Break that down for us.
It refers to the cellular mitochondria's ability to efficiently switch between fuel sources.
The powerhouse of the cell.
Exactly. In a broken, hyper-processed dietary environment, the body is trapped. It is continuously running on quick-burning glucose, leading to constant energy crashes, intense cravings, and fat accumulation.
You're always hungry.
You're always hungry because you're burning kindling. But by returning to a fat and protein-centric diet, the mitochondria regain the ability to seamlessly transition to beta oxidation,
Which is what?
burning stored body fat for a clean, sustained, infinitely deeper reservoir of energy.
It's like switching from kindling to burning huge logs in the fireplace.
Exactly.
And once that metabolic flexibility is restored, the script argues we unlock the body's innate evolutionary healing capacity.
The body fixes itself.
Right, is the ultimate vindication of the Hippocrates character in this hypothetical dialogue. By finally fixing the foundational input at the root level, the biological system begins to aggressively repair its own inflammation.
Effectively rendering the vast majority of the pharmaceutical symptom management cartel entirely obsolete.
It represents a total dismantling of the current medical paradigm.
It really does. The ultimate synthesis of the source text is that humanity is currently standing on a precipice.
We have a choice to make.
We do. The script posits that we have the knowledge to transition from an era defined by symptom suppression and lifelong pill dependency into an era defined by root cause curing and food-based metabolic healing.
And the script is wildly optimistic about what that era looks like.
It really paints a utopian picture.
It explicitly envisions unlocking the potential for a thriving, vibrant, 120-year lifespan.
120 years, that's incredible.
It argues that deep longevity, free from the slow decay of chronic disease, is biologically within our grasp. But only if we possess the courage to completely sever our ties to the current systems of agricultural and medical management.
Which brings the entire weight of this theoretical deep dive directly back to the reality of you, the listener.
Right. Why does this matter to you?
Exactly. Why does a hypothetical dramatic YouTube script about ancient Greek philosophy and modern corporate critiques matter to your actual physical life tomorrow morning?
What's the takeaway?
The source text culminates in a profound, empowering theme, the absolute necessity of reclaiming your health sovereignty.
Health sovereignty. That is the radical idea that you, and only you, possess the ultimate authority and the ultimate responsibility over your own metabolic well-being.
It's all on you.
The text fiercely argues that you can no longer afford to outsource your biological health to vast, faceless systems that are structurally driven by corporate quarterly earnings and pharmaceutical profit margins.
It is a demand for extreme vigilance.
You have to be awake.
You have to actively resist being psychologically manipulated by the billions of dollars spent annually on marketing campaigns. Campaigns that are specifically designed to convince you that hyper-processed, metabolically destructive food products are somehow convenient or heart-healthy or fortified with essential vitamins.
Right, like sugar cereal with a vitamin sticker on it.
Exactly. It's an illusion.
You have to internalize the final, enduring piece of wisdom that the Hippocrates character delivers as the script closes. I am my own doctor.
Such a powerful line.
The true, unparalleled power of biological healing is not locked away inside a billion-dollar high-tech hospital wing.
It's not in the AI or the CRISPR.
No. It doesn't require an MRI machine,
Yep.
and it isn't contained within a patented synthetic pharmacy bottle. The true power is sitting right there on your dining table.
On your plate.
It resides entirely in the mundane, quiet choices you make about what you put into your body 3 times a day.
It is an intensely profound call to individual action, set brilliantly against the backdrop of a massive systemic critique.
It truly is. And as we wrap up this exploration, I want to leave you with a final lingering thought.
A provocative one.
Yes, something for you to actively mull over that builds on everything we've unpacked regarding the biology and the economics of this text.
Okay.
We've spent this time analyzing the theories, the cellular mechanisms, and the corporate cartels. But let's play out the physical reality of the script's conclusion.
What would it actually look like?
Exactly. Let's imagine that society truly, completely embraced this paradigm shift. If this new, fat and protein-based food pyramid was universally adopted.
Everyone's eating avocado and steak.
Right. And if the root cause approach of functional medicine actually became the undisputed, globally integrated standard of care,
Okay.
how would that physically, tangibly reshape the physical infrastructure of our daily lives over the next 50 years?
Oh, wow. It is a staggering socioeconomic thought experiment.
Just visualize it.
Yeah.
What would the physical layout of your massive local supermarket look like if the center aisles, the acres of boxed processed carbohydrates, the sodas, the brightly colored cereals, simply became economically obsolete?
They'd be empty. It would just be a giant perimeter of fresh food.
Exactly.
Well,
How would the global restaurant industry have to entirely rewrite their menus and completely redesign their supply chains to prioritize local fats and proteins over cheap industrial seed oils and
the
grains?
whole supply chain would invert.
And perhaps most profoundly, what would happen to the massive, sprawling, multi-billion-dollar architecture of our modern hospital systems?
If nobody is chronically ill.
Right. If society was no longer constantly mass-producing the millions of chronically ill, metabolically broken patients, those buildings were specifically designed and financed to house.
The entire visible landscape of modern human civilization would have to be fundamentally reconstructed.
It would. Because right now, under the current paradigm, we're still standing inside that futuristic hospital room, looking in awe at that dazzling high-tech diagnostic machine, desperately wondering why we feel so incredibly sick.
Yeah.
The advanced scan might not show a clean, easily fixable break, but this deep dive suggests that the fracture isn't in our bones. It's in the very foundation of our environment.
The food we eat.
And maybe, just maybe, the tools required to finally heal that foundation aren't humming inside the machine, but are waiting quietly on our plates.
A truly fascinating and essential exploration of the source material.
Keep digging into these concepts. Keep questioning the systems around you. And above all, take care of your foundation.